Before we begin our story, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more, and drop a comment with your feedback on our stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts. In the distant future, humanity had become a force to be reckoned with among the stars. No longer bound to a single world, they had spread across the galaxy, carving out a place for themselves among the vast and ancient empires that dominated the cosmos. Their journey had not been an easy one. Wars, alliances, and the unrelenting challenges of deep space had forged them into a resilient and formidable civilization. Earth, once a blue jewel threatened by climate catastrophe and resource depletion, had transformed into the beating heart of human innovation. The gleaming spires of New Geneva, humanity's capital, stretched toward the heavens, a testament to human perseverance. The scars of the resource wars still marked parts of the planet, serving as somber reminders of how close humanity had come to extinction before the Great Unification. The United Terran Fleet had emerged from those dark days, born from the ashes of national militaries and corporate security forces. What began as a desperate coalition to defend Earth's first extrasolar colonies had evolved into a disciplined, principled force. Their ships, sleek, powerful vessels that combined elegant design with devastating capability, patrolled the stars not as conquerors but as guardians. Unlike the empires that sought conquest and dominion, humanity had chosen a different path, one of stewardship and guardianship. The UTF had been established not only to defend Earth's interests but also to ensure that developing civilizations were given the chance to grow without interference or destruction. This philosophy was enshrined in their prime directive: non-interference with pre-spacefaring civilizations except in cases of extinction-level threats. It was this philosophy that had led them to Ylara. Ylara was a jewel of the stars, a world of emerald forests, crystalline rivers, and skies painted in hues of gold and violet. From orbit, the planet resembled an artist's masterpiece, swirling cloud formations creating patterns over vibrant landscapes where twin moons cast double shadows across the terrain. The atmosphere carried a sweet, almost musical quality, as native flora released harmonious tones when brushed by the wind. Its people, the Ylara, were a peaceful and artistic species, their culture deeply intertwined with the natural world. Tall and graceful with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their emotions, they lived in harmony with their environment. Their cities were not imposed upon the landscape but grown from it, living architecture that spiraled from ancient trees and crystalline formations. They had not yet ventured into space, their technology limited to steam-powered machines and rudimentary electricity. Their society was organized into tribal confederations, each specializing in different arts and sciences, united by a shared spiritual connection to their world. The UTF, Ylara, was more than just another planet. It was a world with potential, a world worth protecting, but the galaxy was not kind to the weak. An ominous shadow loomed on the horizon. The Zyphar Dominion, a vast, relentless, hive-minded empire, had turned its gaze upon Ylara. The Dominion was not an empire in the traditional sense. It did not seek wealth, resources, or alliances. It sought only assimilation. The Zyphar had evolved from insectoid creatures on a harsh, radiation-bathed world. Their survival had depended on perfect cooperation, leading to the development of a collective consciousness. As their technology advanced, they enhanced this natural connection with cybernetic implants until individual thought became obsolete. What emerged was a single, collective mind stretching across countless star systems, its will enforced by biomechanical drones and warforms. These warforms were nightmares given physical form, chitinous exoskeletons fused with metallic components, pulsing with bioluminescent energy. Some resembled massive insects, while others took more abstract, geometric shapes. All shared the same cold efficiency and singular purpose. To the Zyphar, individuality was a disease, and free thought a threat to their perfect unity. Ylara, in its current state, stood no chance against such an enemy. The Yllari had no planetary defenses, no means of fighting back. They would be assimilated, their culture erased, their future rewritten in service of the Dominion's endless expansion. The United Terran Fleet had a decision to make. Direct intervention violated one of their most sacred laws, the Prime Directive, which forbade interference with pre-spacefaring civilizations. But to do nothing would be to condemn Ylara to oblivion. For Captain Elias Vance of the UTS Aegis, the choice was clear. He had seen the horrors of the Zyphar Dominion firsthand, had witnessed the hollowed-out husks of worlds they left in their wake. The memories of Proxima Centauri 4 still haunted his dreams, a thriving colony reduced to mindless drones in a matter of days, while his previous ship, the Dauntless, had arrived too late to save them. Among the assimilated had been his wife and daughter, their individuality erased, their bodies repurposed as extensions of the hive. Vance stood in his private quarters aboard the Aegis, staring at the holographic image of Ylara rotating slowly above his desk. His weathered face, marked with a scar running from temple to jaw, a reminder of his narrow escape from Proxima, reflected the weight of command. At 53, he had spent more than half his life in service to the UTF, rising through the ranks with a reputation for both tactical brilliance and moral courage. His steel-gray hair was cropped short in military fashion, and his piercing blue eyes missed nothing. "Computer, show me the latest reconnaissance data on Zyphar fleet movements," he commanded, his deep voice steady despite the tension coiling within him. The hologram shifted, displaying the ominous approach of Zyphar vessels at the edge of the Ylaran system. The data was clear. This was not a random incursion but a calculated invasion force. A chime at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called, not taking his eyes from the display. Commander Mira Tau stepped into the room, her posture perfect as always. At 45, she carried herself with the poise of someone who had navigated both diplomatic halls and battlefields with equal skill. Her dark skin contrasted with the silver streaks in her black hair, pulled back in a tight bun. Before joining the UTF military, she had been one of Earth's most promising diplomats, negotiating treaties with 3 major stellar powers. That career had ended abruptly when she witnessed the Arcturus massacre, a diplomatic summit turned slaughter when the Zyphar violated a peace agreement. She had abandoned diplomacy for military service the next day. "Captain," she began, her voice carrying the slight accent of Earth's Eastern Coalition, "the senior staff is assembled in the briefing room as requested." Vance nodded, finally turning from the display. "And your assessment, number 1?" "Off the record." Myra's professional mask slipped momentarily, revealing the conflict beneath. "The Prime Directive exists for a reason, sir. Once we intervene, we forever alter the natural development of their civilization. And if we don't intervene?" Vance challenged. "Then they have no civilization to develop," she conceded. "I understand the moral imperative, Captain. I simply want to ensure we've exhausted all other options." "Such as?" "We could evacuate key population centers." Preserve their culture while relocating them to a protected world. Vance shook his head. The Ylara have a symbiotic relationship with their planet. Preliminary xenobiology reports suggest they might not survive relocation. He gestured to the hologram. Besides, we're talking about billions of individuals. We don't have the capacity for an evacuation of that scale before the Zyphar arrive. Myra's expression tightened. Then we're left with an impossible choice. No, Vance said, shutting down the hologram with a wave of his hand. We're left with the only choice. We fight. He moved toward the door, then paused. I'll bear the responsibility for breaking the Prime Directive, Commander. I've noted your objection in my personal log. With respect, sir, Mira replied, straightening, if we do this, we do it together. My objection was procedural, not moral. A ghost of a smile touched Vance's lips. Then let's go save a world, number one. Together, they headed for the briefing room, where the fate of Ylara would be decided. The Aegis cut through the darkness of space, its matte black hull absorbing the distant light of the system's twin stars. A silent predator lurking in the void, unseen, unheard. It had been stationed beyond the system's outer rim for days, waiting, watching. The ship itself was a marvel of human engineering, a Phantom-class stealth cruiser designed for deep reconnaissance and special operations. At 800 meters long, it was relatively small for a capital ship, but what it lacked in size it made up for in technological sophistication. Its hull was coated with photon-absorbing metamaterials that rendered it nearly invisible to both visual observation and most scanning technologies. Its propulsion system utilized revolutionary quantum displacement drives that left minimal energy signatures. Even its weapons systems were designed for precision rather than raw power, surgical strikes instead of overwhelming force. Captain Elias Vance sat at the center of the command deck, his expression unreadable as he studied the tactical displays before him. The bridge hummed with quiet intensity, officers worked at their stations, eyes locked on shifting data streams and holographic projections. Vance's first officer, Commander Mira Tao, stood at his side, her sharp eyes scanning the readouts. Lieutenant Kale, head of reconnaissance, hunched over his station with unnatural stillness. The young officer's neural implants, more extensive than most UTF personnel were permitted, glowed faintly beneath his skin as he processed vast amounts of sensor data simultaneously. Born in Earth's undercity slums, Kale had fought his way into the UTF through sheer determination and natural talent. His enhanced neural architecture, initially acquired through black market channels to compete with privileged academy students, had nearly disqualified him from service. Instead, his unique abilities had earned him a place in Vance's hand-picked crew, though many officers still regarded him with suspicion. Captain, Kale broke the silence, his voice carrying the slight synthetic undertone common to heavy neural users. Long-range sensors confirm Zyphar scout vessels inbound. 3 ships, vectoring toward Ylara. Estimated arrival in 16 minutes. A hush fell over the bridge. The moment had come. Vance leaned forward, fingers steepled beneath his chin. Can we confirm their payloads? Kale's brow furrowed, the neural pathways beneath his skin pulsing faster. Bioorganic hull signatures detected. Likely drone carriers. If they deploy nanite swarms, the Ylara won't even know they're being invaded until it's too late. Mira turned to Vance, her voice low. We could intercept them before they reach the planet, but that would reveal our presence. If the Zyphar realize we're here, they'll send the entire fleet. And we're not ready for that yet, Vance finished her thought. We need to buy time. Ideas? Chief Engineer Rowe, a brilliant but eccentric scientist, spoke up from the engineering station. With wild silver hair that seemed to defy gravity and a perpetual gleam of manic energy in her eyes, she looked more like a mad scientist than a UTF officer. Her uniform bore numerous unauthorized modifications, extra pockets bulging with tools and devices of her own design. The UTF had recruited her after she was dismissed from the Galileo Institute for ethically questionable research methodologies. Her genius was matched only by her disregard for conventional boundaries. We could deploy decoy beacons in the asteroid belt, she suggested, already manipulating controls at her station. Make it look like a derelict ship worth investigating. If we're lucky, they'll waste time scanning it. The Zyphar aren't known for curiosity, Mira objected. Rose's eyes lit up with the challenge. Ah, but they are known for thoroughness. Their hive mind compels them to investigate potential threats or resources. We just need to make it look valuable enough to warrant inspection but not threatening enough to trigger an immediate attack. Vance considered for only a moment before nodding. Do it. Deploy decoy beacons, maximum energy output. Make it look like a distress call. With pleasure, Captain, Rowe replied with unsettling enthusiasm. She activated the countermeasures, and across the void, small probes detached from the Aegis, positioning themselves along the asteroid belt. Within seconds, they emitted fluctuating pulses of light and electromagnetic signals, mimicking the erratic energy signatures of a damaged vessel. Kale's eyes widened slightly as he processed the incoming data. They're taking the bait, he confirmed. Relief edged his voice. 15 minutes until they reached the asteroid belt. Vance allowed himself a brief nod. Good. But this is only the beginning. He turned to his communications officer. Lieutenant Chen, prepare a secure channel to UTF command. I need to speak with Admiral Zhao. Sir, Chen replied hesitantly, any transmission, even on secure channels, risks detection by the Zyphar. I'm aware of the risk, Lieutenant. But if we're going to defend this world, we need reinforcements. Vance's expression hardened. And I need to explain to Command why I'm about to violate the Prime Directive. As the bridge crew prepared for the coming confrontation, Vance felt the weight of his decision. He was about to commit his ship and crew to a war they hadn't been sent to fight, for a people who didn't even know they existed. If he failed, it wouldn't just be Ylara that paid the price, it would be his crew, his career, and potentially humanity standing among the galactic powers. But as he looked at the beautiful blue-green world displayed on the main view screen, he knew he couldn't stand by and watch another civilization fall to the Zyphar. Not again. Not while he had the power to intervene. Tactical alert, he ordered, his voice resolute. All hands to battle stations. We're going to defend Ylara, whatever the cost. The diversion had bought them precious time, but Captain Vance knew it wouldn't last. As the Zyphar scout vessels investigated the decoy signals in the asteroid belt, he gathered his senior officers in the Aegis's tactical planning room, a secure chamber shielded against all forms of surveillance and signal leakage. Our window of opportunity is narrow, Vance began, standing before a three-dimensional holographic display of the Ylaran system. Once the Zyphar realize they've been deceived, they'll resume their approach to Ylara. We need to make contact with the Yllari and prepare them for what's coming. Lieutenant Commander Sato, the ship's tactical officer, frowned. Sir, with respect, the Yllari have no concept of extraterrestrial life. Our sudden appearance could cause widespread panic. Not to mention the cultural contamination, added Dr. Ylara Venn, the ship's xenobiologist. She stood slightly apart from the others, her slender frame tense with concern. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a practical braid, and her green eyes, enhanced with microscopic implants for detailed biological analysis, studied the holographic representation of Ylara with professional interest. Vance and Lyra had a complicated history. 5 years earlier, they had been more than colleagues, until the Proxima Centauri incident had left Vance emotionally shattered and Lyra unwilling to compete with the ghosts of his past. Their relationship had cooled to professional courtesy, though the undercurrent of unresolved feelings remained. Cultural contamination is preferable to extinction, Vance replied, his tone making it clear this wasn't up for debate. Dr. Venn, your team has been studying the Yllari for weeks. What's the best approach for first contact? Lyra stepped forward, activating her data pad. The Yllari have a confederated tribal structure. Each region is governed by a council of elders, with a spiritual leader called a Centaur serving as the final authority in matters of importance. She brought up images of Yllari settlements. Their largest population center is here, in the valley of Caervalen. The current Centaur, a leader named Thero, is considered unusually progressive. If we're going to make contact, he represents our best chance for a rational reception. And the language barrier? Commander Tal inquired. Our linguistic AIs have been analyzing their communications, Lyra explained. We can manage basic communication through our universal translators, though nuance will be limited at first. Vance nodded. Good. Commander Tal, you'll lead the contact team. Take Dr. Venn and Lieutenant Kale. Your objective is to establish peaceful communication and convey the nature of the threat. Myra's expression remained neutral, but her eyes betrayed her concern. And if they don't believe us? Make them believe, Vance said simply. We don't have the luxury of a gradual cultural exchange. What about our own people? Chief Engineer Rowe interjected, her fingers drumming restlessly on the table. Even with the decoy buying us time, we're one ship against a potential Zyphar fleet. We need reinforcements. Vance's jaw tightened. I've sent an encrypted burst transmission to UTF Command explaining our situation. Given the distance, we won't receive a response for at least 72 hours. And if they order us to withdraw? Mira asked quietly. The room fell silent, all eyes on the captain. Then I'll deal with the consequences, Vance replied, his voice steady. But I won't abandon these people to the Zyphar. Not again. The unspoken reference to Proxima Centauri hung in the air. Lieutenant Kale, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Captain, my reconnaissance drones have detected unusual energy signatures from the Yllari capital. Their steam technology appears more advanced than our initial assessment suggested. Explain, Vance prompted. They've developed a form of crystal-based energy storage that amplifies their steam power, Cale continued, his neural implants pulsing as he accessed the data. It's primitive by our standards, but with some modifications, we might be able to adapt their existing infrastructure for defensive purposes. Rose's eyes lit up with interest. Crystalline energy matrices. Fascinating. With the right adjustments, we could potentially create a distributed defense network using their own technology as a foundation. That would minimize our technological footprint, Mira noted, warming to the idea. Less cultural contamination than introducing advanced weapons directly. Vance studied the holographic display, considering the options. Develop the concept, Chief. I want a preliminary plan by the time the contact team returns. He turned to address the entire group. Let me be clear, our mission is to protect Ylara from the Zyphar threat while minimizing our impact on their natural development. This won't be easy, and it isn't what any of us signed up for. If anyone has moral objections to this course of action, speak now. The room remained silent. Very well, Vance concluded. Commander Tau, prepare your team for planetfall. The rest of you, begin preparations for potential combat operations. Dismissed. As the officers filed out, Ylara lingered behind. Once they were alone, she approached Vance. Elias, she said softly, using his first name for the first time in years. Are you sure about this? We're not just bending the Prime Directive, we're shattering it. Vance didn't meet her gaze, instead focusing on the rotating image of Ylara. Do you remember what you said to me after Proxima? About how we failed those people? I remember, she replied, her voice tight with emotion. But this is different. The stakes are exactly the same, he interrupted. Billions of lives hanging in the balance. The only difference is that this time, we have a chance to act before it's too late. He finally looked at her, his blue eyes intense. I couldn't save them, Ylara. I couldn't save our people. But maybe I can save these people. Ylara studied him for a long moment. This isn't just about the Yllari, is it? It's about redemption. Does that make it wrong? He challenged. No, she conceded. But it makes it personal. And personal crusades can cloud judgment. Vance's expression softened slightly. That's why I have you and Mira to keep me honest. If I cross the line, if I put my need for atonement above the mission, I'm counting on you to pull me back. Ylara nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. I'll prepare for planetfall, she said, turning to leave. Ylara, Vance called after her. When she paused at the door, he added, be careful down there. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Always am, Captain. The descent to Yllara's surface was conducted under cover of darkness, the contact team's shuttle utilizing stealth technology to avoid detection by either the planet's inhabitants or the distant Zyphar scouts. They landed in a clearing several kilometers from the Yllari capital, the shuttle's adaptive camouflage rendering it nearly invisible against the lush forest backdrop. Commander Tau led the way, her hand resting on her sidearm, a non-lethal neural disruptor set to stun. Behind her, Dr. Venn carried a field medical kit and scanning equipment, while Lieutenant Kale brought up the rear, his enhanced senses constantly monitoring their surroundings. Breathable atmosphere confirmed, Ylara announced, checking her instruments. Oxygen levels slightly higher than Earth standard. No detected pathogens harmful to human physiology. Mira nodded and removed her breather mask. The air carried a sweet, almost spicy scent, reminiscent of cinnamon and something alien yet pleasant. Kale, any sign of Ilari activity nearby? The lieutenant's eyes flickered with neural activity. Small settlement 2 kilometers east. Minimal movement, most inhabitants appear to be sleeping, as expected at this hour. Good, Mira replied. We'll approach the capital from the south. According to intelligence, Centaur Thero conducts dawn meditation at the Crystal Temple. That's our best opportunity to make contact with minimal witnesses. As they made their way through the forest, the alien beauty of Ylara revealed itself. Bioluminescent plants cast a soft blue glow over the path, while strange, bell-shaped flowers emitted gentle musical tones when brushed by the passing humans. Overhead, the twin moons bathed the landscape in silver light, creating double shadows that danced among the trees. It's beautiful, Ylara murmured, pausing to scan a particularly vibrant cluster of glowing fungi. The biodiversity here is extraordinary. The entire ecosystem appears to operate in a state of harmonic symbiosis. Stay focused, Doctor, Mira reminded her. We can conduct scientific surveys after we've secured the planet from invasion. Ylara nodded, though she couldn't resist collecting a small sample before continuing. As they neared the outskirts of the capital, the natural landscape gave way to cultivated gardens and terraced fields. The Ilari architecture became visible, spiraling structures that seemed to grow organically from the ground, their surfaces adorned with intricate patterns that glowed faintly in the moonlight. The Crystal Temple should be just ahead, Mira whispered, consulting her map. Remember, our objective is peaceful contact. Universal translators active, weapons concealed but accessible. They approached the temple, a magnificent structure composed of what appeared to be living crystal, its facets refracting the moonlight into prismatic patterns across the surrounding plaza. At its center, a solitary figure knelt in meditation, tall and slender with iridescent skin that shifted between shades of blue and green. Mira took a deep breath and stepped forward into the open. Greetings, Centaur of Ylara, she called, the universal translator converting her words into the musical language of the Ilari. We come in peace and with urgent purpose. The Ilari leader rose in a fluid motion, turning to face them. His large, multifaceted eyes widened in shock, his skin flashing to a bright yellow, a sign of surprise, according to their research. He was taller than they had expected, nearly 7 feet in height, with elongated limbs and a crest of crystalline growths adorning his head. Sky visitors, he said after a moment, his voice melodic and resonant. Remarkably, he showed no fear, only intense curiosity. The dreams spoke true. This unexpected response caught the team off guard. Ylara stepped forward. You expected us? Thero's skin shifted to a deep purple, a color they hadn't documented in their observations. Not expected. Foretold. The ancient songs speak of visitors from beyond the veil of stars in times of great change. He studied them with unnerving intensity. You are not as the songs described. You are more like us than the legend suggested. Mira exchanged glances with her teammates before addressing the Centaur again. We have come to warn you of a great danger approaching your world. A threat from beyond your skies. The Devourers, Pharaoh said simply. Again, the humans were taken aback. Kale's hand instinctively moved toward his concealed weapon. You know of the Zyphar? Lyra asked, unable to hide her astonishment. Pharaoh's skin rippled with patterns of blue and green. Not by that name. But our most sensitive dreamers have felt a shadow growing in the void. A hunger that consumes individuality. He gestured toward the temple. Please, join me inside. If you have come as guardians, there is much to discuss. As they followed the Ylara leader into the crystal temple, Mira activated her communicator. Captain Vance, this is Commander Tau. First contact established with Centaur Pharaoh. You're not going to believe this, but they've been expecting us. Back on the Aegis, Captain Vance received Commander Tau's report with a mixture of relief and suspicion. The unexpected receptiveness of the Ylara leader seemed too convenient, raising concerns about potential telepathic abilities or prior contact with other species that UTF intelligence had missed. Keep your guard up, Commander, he instructed. Proceed with the briefing, but verify everything. This could be a cultural misinterpretation or something more complex. Understood, Captain, Myra's voice replied through the comm. We'll proceed with caution. As Vance ended the transmission, Lieutenant Commander Sato approached with a troubled expression. Sir, we've detected unusual activity from the Zyphar scouts. They've completed their investigation of the asteroid belt and are now on an intercept course with our position. Vance's expression darkened. Time to intercept. At current velocity, 4 hours, 17 minutes, Sato reported. Have they detected us? Negative, sir. Our stealth systems are holding. But their course adjustment suggests they may have detected our shuttle's descent to the planet, despite its cloaking. Vance considered this information. The Zyphar are more perceptive than we anticipated. Alert Commander Tau, her team needs to accelerate the timeline. He turned to the communications station. Any response from UTF Command? Nothing yet, sir, Lieutenant Chen replied. The quantum entanglement relay is active, but there's significant interference in this sector. It could be natural or the Zyphar are already jamming communications, Vance finished grimly. Which means they know someone's here, even if they haven't pinpointed us yet. He straightened, decision made. Battle stations. Prepare to break stealth on my command. If those scouts report back to the main fleet, we lose our advantage of surprise. Sir, Sato objected, engaging the scouts will confirm human presence in this system. UTF Command might view that as an irrevocable violation of the Prime Directive. I'm aware of the implications, Lieutenant Commander, Vance replied, his tone leaving no room for further debate. But if we wait for official authorization, Ylara will be overrun before help arrives. He turned to address the bridge crew. I take full responsibility for this decision. Anyone who wishes to register a formal objection may do so in the ship's log. No one moved. Very well, Vance said, settling into the command chair. Tactical, prepare targeting solutions for the Zyphar scouts. Engineering, stand by to divert power from stealth systems to weapons and shields on my mark. Communications, maintain channel to the away team. As the crew prepared for combat, Vance studied the tactical display showing the approaching Zyphar vessels. They were smaller than typical Dominion warships, likely automated drones rather than fully equipped battlecruisers. That gave the Aegis an advantage in firepower, but the real threat wasn't the scouts themselves. It was what would follow if they managed to transmit their findings back to the main fleet. "Captain," Chief Engineer Rowe's voice came through the comm, "I've been analyzing the Zyphar communication patterns. They use quantum entanglement for instantaneous transmission across vast distances, but the entanglement requires periodic synchronization through conventional subspace channels." "Your point, Chief. If we can identify their synchronization frequency, we might be able to disrupt it, prevent them from calling for reinforcements even if they spot us." Vance leaned forward. "How long would the disruption last?" "Hard to say," Rowe admitted. "Hours, maybe a day if we're lucky. They'll eventually establish new entanglement pairs, but it buys us time." "Do it," Vance ordered. "And prepare the prototype for deployment." There was a pause on the line. "Sir, the quantum disruptor is still experimental. The power requirements alone could, I'm aware of the risks, Chief. But right now, we need every advantage we can get." "Aye, Captain." Preparing the disruptor. As Rowe signed off, Vance turned his attention back to the tactical display. The Zyphar scouts were still hours away, but the countdown had begun. Soon, the Aegis would reveal itself, and the battle for Ylara would commence in earnest. That he could only hope that Commander Tal's team was making progress planetside. Everything depended on preparing the Yllari for what was coming, and convincing them to fight alongside their unexpected guardians from the stars. The battle for Ylara was not a single engagement but a campaign fought across land, sea, air, and the void above. As the Zyphar's main fleet arrived in the system, the Aegis revealed itself, breaking stealth to engage the scout vessels before they could report back to the Dominion. Captain Vance stood on the bridge, his expression resolute as he gave the order that would irrevocably commit them to this conflict. Disengage stealth systems. Bring weapons online. Target the lead scout vessel. The Aegis's metamaterial hull shifted, its light-absorbing properties deactivating as power was diverted to offensive systems. The ship became visible against the starfield, its sleek profile illuminated by the glow of charging weapon arrays. "Targets acquired," Lieutenant Commander Sato reported, her fingers dancing across the tactical console. "Quantum disruptors at full charge." "Fire," Vance commanded. The space between the ships lit up as concentrated beams of energy, designed to destabilize matter at the quantum level, glanced toward the unsuspecting Zyphar scouts. The lead vessel, caught completely by surprise, shuddered as the beam struck its bioorganic hull. For a moment, it seemed to fold in on itself, the quantum disruption causing catastrophic molecular failure before it exploded in a silent flash of light. "Direct hit on lead vessel," Sato confirmed. "The other two are taking evasive action and powering weapons." "Rowe," Vance called over the comm, "status on the communication disruption." "Quantum interference field active, Captain," the chief engineer replied, her voice strained with concentration. Their entanglement synchronization is being scrambled. They can't call home, but the field won't last forever. The remaining Zyphar scouts recovered quickly from their surprise, their biomechanical systems adapting to the threat. They split formation, attempting to flank the Aegis while launching a barrage of energy projectiles that resembled glowing, plasma-filled spores. Evasive pattern Delta, Vance ordered. Maintain targeting on Scout 2. Deploy countermeasures against their projectiles. The Aegis banked sharply, its inertial dampeners straining as the ship executed a maneuver that would have crushed an unprotected crew. Point defense lasers activated automatically, intercepting the incoming projectiles, which burst into clouds of corrosive plasma when struck. One got through. Sato warned as a projectile evaded the defenses and struck the Aegis's port side. The ship shuddered, and damage reports flashed across multiple stations. Hull breach on Deck 4, reported the damage control officer. Containment fields holding. Repair drones deployed. Vance gripped the arms of his command chair. Return fire. All weapons. The Aegis unleashed its full arsenal, quantum disruptors, particle beams, and conventional railguns firing hyper-accelerated projectiles. The second Zyphar scout was caught in the barrage, its hull breached in multiple locations before its power core destabilized, resulting in a spectacular detonation. The third scout, seemingly recognizing the futility of continuing the engagement, attempted to retreat, accelerating away from the Aegis at maximum speed. "They're running," Sato observed. "We can't let them escape," Vance said grimly. "If they reach transmission range beyond our disruption field, I have a solution," Rowe interrupted over the comm. "I've modified a probe with a localized version of the quantum disruptor. If we can get it close enough, it should prevent the scout from establishing any form of communication." "Launch it," Vance ordered without hesitation. A small probe shot from the Aegis's launch bay, accelerating rapidly toward the fleeing Zyphar vessel. The scout, detecting the pursuit, released a cloud of defensive spores, but the probe, guided by Lieutenant Kale's targeting algorithms, weaved through the hazards and attached itself to the Zyphar ship's hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the scout's propulsion systems flickered and failed as the quantum disruption spread throughout its systems. The vessel drifted, powerless and silent. "Target neutralized," Sato confirmed. "No transmissions detected." A collective sigh of relief passed through the bridge crew, though Vance knew this was merely the opening move in a much larger game. "Damage report," he requested. "Hull breach contained. Minor damage to port sensor array." "No casualties," came the response. Vance nodded. "Restore stealth systems and set course for Ylara. We need to rendezvous with the away team." He turned to communications. "Lieutenant Chen, any word from UTF command?" "Still nothing, sir. The quantum interference we're generating to block the Zyphar is affecting our own long-range communications as well. So we're on our own," Vance murmured, more to himself than to the crew. "Very well. We've bought some time, but the main Zyphar fleet will investigate when these scouts fail to report in. We need to prepare Yllara's defenses before they arrive." As the Aegis moved toward the planet, cloaking itself once more, Vance couldn't shake the feeling that they had crossed a point of no return. The UTF might eventually send reinforcements, or a court-martial board. Either way, the die was cast. The battle for Ylara had begun.